All right, this is a question that I get asked pretty often. And so I thought it might be helpful for me to just go ahead and make a video and share with you guys the answer that I usually give to this question. And the question is, how do I get into angle flying? Now, it may not always be phrased exactly like that, but something along those lines. I want to learn how to angle fly. What things should I be doing? What skills do I need to know how to do before I start angle flying? What should I be thinking about? What do I need to learn? That kind of along those lines, that idea. I want to get into angle flying. What should I do? How do I get started to angle flying? So I put together a list of 10 things that I think are really helpful as you begin to angle fly. Some of these are skills that you can actually practice and work on your own. Some of them even on belly jumps. Some of them are skills that you can practice and work on in the tunnel. And then a couple of these things are more kind of theory, I would say, or they have to do with safety and protocol for the way that a movement jump, an angle jump, is put together and organized and laid out. What the leader and the other people on the jump, for that matter, should be thinking about and paying attention to, that they should be considering as they plan and organize any type of movement jump. So these 10 things, I'm going to put them up right here. Here they are. If you don't want to watch the whole video, here's the list right here. You can see them all right now. Pause the video, write them down. There you go. You can probably understand each one of them without any explanation, and you can go start working on them. If you want to stick around and watch the rest of the video, I'm going to go through each one by one and unpack them just a little bit. But these are really helpful things. Now, this is not an ordered list. I did not put these in a specific order that I think you need to learn them or practice them or go through them in this particular order. That's not what I'm saying. I just wrote them all down and I'm going to go through them. Some of them are definitely more important than others, especially the ones that deal with safety and organizing, layout, like planning a movement jump. I think those are more important and a bigger deal because they're safety related and they have to do with the way a movement group interacts with jump run and the other groups on the plane and all those things. But they're not ordered in a particular way. All right, so let's jump right in. The first one is D-arch. Now, obviously throughout AFF and your skydiving career, you're taught to arch from the beginning. You hear that all the time, arch, arch, arch. We even have a hand signal for arch, and that's awesome. At this point in your skydiving career, you've probably got a couple hundred jumps at least. So you're starting to kind of experiment and explore other disciplines of skydiving, kind of learning what other things you want to get into. And so angle flying is getting more and more popular. So yeah, obviously you might want to do that. But de-arching can serve you really, really well in lots of different disciplines, not just angle flying, but we're specifically talking about angle flying. So what do we mean de-arch? So, you know, if you're flying on your belly flying and you're arching like this, obviously, when we say de-arch, what we mean is kind of breaking your hips is the phrase that we use a lot, breaking your hips, and think about kind of pulling your knees toward your chest just a little bit like that and putting your butt back up into the air. And this is something that you can actually do, you can practice and work on while you're belly flying. Actually, I would recommend that you practice this skill, de-arching. Learn to de-arch and have that feel of de-arching and continue to be stable while you're belly flying. You can do this with another friend. You guys go on a two-way belly jump and you say, hey, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna work on this. If they've got, you know, over 200 jumps and they're flying with a camera, they can video you so you can see what it looks like and play around with de-arching just a tiny bit or like a whole lot, like really, really exaggerate it. So you're bringing your knees way up. What does it take to stabilize yourself with your hands? You know, can you look around? Can you see between your knees and look backwards? Can you look up? All those different things. But that's gonna really, really help you in angle flying. And one of the reasons that's gonna help you is because it's gonna help you to control your glide ratio and your fall rate a little bit. It's also gonna add to your stability, and it's gonna work into other things like steering, pitch, speed, all those things. But it starts off with feeling comfortable breaking your hips, okay? So that's the first one, de-arch. The next one is flat tracking. This goes straight into flat tracking. The more proficient that you are at flat tracking, whether it's on your belly or your back, then the better you're going to be as you get into angle flying. But you need to start with flat tracking first. And when we say flat tracking, what does that mean? I mean, there's no like specific, clear definition. If your glide ratio is this or this, this glide ratio is flat tracking, this glide ratio is not flat tracking. That's not really how it works. Flat tracking means you're trying to maximize your horizontal movement as much as possible. Maximize horizontal movement and minimize vertical movement. Now, de-arching will help with this significantly. It will have a huge impact on your ability to maximize your glide ratio, fly further horizontally than you were able to previously, right? And it's easy to imagine because if you're arching a lot, your fall rate, you're going to increase your fall rate. You're going to fall faster. It doesn't matter if you're going straight down vertically or moving forward, trying to track, putting your hands behind you, and you're trying to track. If you're arching a lot, you're still going to have an increased vertical descent versus if you de-arch just a tiny bit, straighten your legs, point your toes, de-arch, roll your shoulders forward just a little bit, cupping your chest, de-arching, so now you're catching a little bit more wind. Initially, you're probably going to feel like you dip a little bit head low as you start to pick up speed, but as you pick up speed, that body position is going to increase your horizontal movement, and it's going to give you a more proficient or a more efficient flat track. So it's going to maximize that horizontal movement. All right, learning to do that will serve you very well in angle flying. The next one is in-face carving and out-face carving. Actually, the next two things, number 3 and number 4. In-face carving and out-face carving. These are skills that I would recommend that you practice in the tunnel. It's going to be much easier visually. You have the visual cues of the tunnel and the glass. You're going to have an instructor working with you, coaching you, giving you, in real-time feedback. You're going to have video that you can watch to see what you're doing. Now, when we talk about in-face and out-face carving, in-face carving, if this is his face, his chest, the front of his body, right? In-face carving means he is facing into the tunnel. If the tunnel is here and he's in the tunnel carving, he is facing in. Now, that would be a high-speed carve because the wind's really fast and he's carving like this, almost vertical. But if we slow that wind down so that he's more back flying, it's still in-face carving, but it's a flatter, a lower speed. And that's something that you can absolutely work on and do in the tunnel. And the low speed carving is going to be very beneficial to you. It's going to help you a lot. In face, which would feel like you're on your back at low speed, and out face, if you're out face carving, you're facing out of the tunnel, you're facing the glass and carving around. That would be high speed, like a vertical out face carving, or low speed, you're going to feel more like you're on your belly carving around like that. Now those two skills, in-face and out-face carving, they're going to teach you how to do a lot of different things. But a couple of things that you're going to learn, it goes into one of the other things on this list is learning how to steer with your shoulders and your hips. I see a lot of people when they first start angle flying, as we make a gentle turn, curving off of jump run or something like that. People trying to steer with their arms, like actually using their arms to try to grab wind or catch wind to go a certain direction, or putting their hands out really wide to try to steer. And that's very inefficient flying. For one, you're braking, you're adding brakes. Anytime you widen your arms or legs, that's slowing you down. So you're slowing yourself down, which is probably going to make you fall behind the group, but it's also an inefficient way to turn. So on my list, I have learning how to steer with your shoulders and sometimes your hips, maybe digging a knee in or shifting your hips and your weight a little bit. Think about an airplane flying through the sky. When it wants to turn, it rolls and turns one direction or the other. And that's essentially what we're doing when we're angle flying. So the in-face carving and the out-face carving in the tunnel initially is where I would encourage you to start those two skills. You're gonna learn to steer with your shoulders and hips without even thinking about it. It's just gonna happen as you learn how to carve both directions, belly and in-face and out-face. You're gonna learn how to steer with your shoulders and your hips, and you won't even have to think about it. It'll just happen as you learn that skill. All right, Another one, I skipped over number 5, that's exiting the plane in a track. Now, I would encourage you to wait until you're getting really proficient at flat tracking. You don't have to initially start off doing this. When you're first learning to flat track and getting really proficient, number one, you need to be following somebody. You need to have someone taking you on those tracking jumps that knows how to lead a tracking jump, that knows how to plan a tracking jump, that knows how to pay attention to jump run, winds aloft, all that stuff. So you shouldn't be doing these movement, even flat tracking, you shouldn't be doing that on your own, especially if you don't have a lot of experience planning a jump run, planning a movement jump and paying attention to jump run and winds and all that stuff. Get someone else, qualified instruction, someone who knows how to lead and is approved to lead at your drop zone that can help you do that. But initially when you're doing that, I would encourage you, exit the plane in a belly, like maybe a poised belly exit or something. You get together with the person who's leading you on that flat track. You guys pick your heading and then you start moving together. As you get more and more and more proficient at that, you begin to practice and experiment with exiting the plane and going straight into a track, a flat track even. There's no reason to immediately start angle flying out of the door when you're learning how to do these things. But you can absolutely exit the plane in a flat track, get on heading as fast as possible, getting off of jump run, moving in the direction that you need to go. Again, with a leader, with someone who knows what they're doing, who is familiar with the drop zone and landmarks and all of those things, familiar with jump run and winds aloft, all those things, that they're leading you in a safe way, and you can focus on exiting a track and following them. That's also a skill that you can practice even on hop and pops. A lot of drop zones are doing hop and pops. At our drop zone, we most of the time from 5,500 feet. So that's plenty of time. You can exit the plane. If you want to make sure that there's not other hop and pop people on the plane, if there are, you might want to go last, so that as you exit and track, you're tracking away from people. You don't want to exit and track up jump run if there's other hop and pops after you. So you need to be paying attention to those things. But even on a hop and pop, that's a great way to experiment and explore and work on exiting into a track. Especially if you're the only one getting out low, you're leaving from 5,500 feet, you can exit track for 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 10 seconds. That's going to put you at 4,500 feet. You have plenty of time to stop, wave off, and pull by, 3,800, 4,000 feet, no problem. So that's the next thing, learning how to exit in a track. It's going to feel different and weird because you're getting your head down into the wind, you're extending your body, you don't have your arms for stability like you normally feel like you do. You got to learn how to push your feet and legs into the wind to get stability, all those things. But it's a great skill to have, and it's going to serve you very well as you start moving, whether it's flat tracking or angle flying, with groups. As you get more and more people and you're trying to follow the leader, that's going to serve you really well. Being able to start a jump in a movement, in a track, and staying with the leader from the door. So I would encourage you to practice that. As you practice exiting in a track, practice it from multiple locations. Start out in the door, like getting outside and getting kind of in that front float position, from the camera step, from the rear of the door, from inside the door, from outside, diving, all those different things. See how it's different and how it works, so that you can, whenever you start joining jumps, movement jumps, it doesn't matter to you where you're at in that exit order or exit location, you're going to feel proficient and comfortable doing that. All right, the next one is understand and pay attention to jump run and winds aloft. So I mentioned that a second ago. Now, you're not going to be leading these types of jumps for quite a while. Leading a movement jump is a very big responsibility, and it should be seen as a responsibility, because it can be, when done wrong, it can be very, very dangerous. You can be leading a group of people into a very dangerous situation, or into a group of other flyers, and causing other groups who are getting out after you to be in danger that they didn't understand or intend or want, obviously. So you should be, as you're doing any kind of movement jump, you should be following a leader who knows what they're doing. And they should be qualified and experienced and educated in how to do that well and how to do that safely. And when you ask someone, hey, like you're gonna go on a movement jump with someone, I would encourage you, ask them, hey, Why are we going this way? What's our flight plan? What direction are we going and why? And what about winds? Where are we planning on opening and why? What are the winds on the ground? What are the winds at all the different levels? Have you looked at that? And when you ask your leader these questions, they should be happy to answer these questions for you. There is no reason that that should be secret information or information that they're annoyed or frustrated to answer. If they don't want to answer those questions, if they don't know the answers, or they're somehow annoyed at you because you want to know, then that might not be somebody you want to follow. That might not be a jump you want to go on. When I organize and plan and lead movement jumps, angle flying or flat tracking, it doesn't matter. I am more than happy to explain to the people on the jump why we're going where we're going, why we're opening where we're opening, the whole flight plan. If they have questions and they want to understand it, I am more than happy for that. Number one, it shows that they care about what we're doing and that they want to make sure that we're being safe. And I love that. Number two, it forces me to think through everything again and verbalize and articulate the plan that I've put together and why. And number three, sometimes I've actually had this happen where I had a plan for a movement jump and somebody on the jump asked me, hey, so what are we doing? Where are we going? Why? And as I begin to explain it and talk to them about the winds and jumper and all that, I realized, oh wait, this is actually probably not the way we should be doing this. We should actually do something different. And so because they asked me and it forced me to articulate and explain the plan of what we were doing, it helped me to realize that that probably wasn't the best way to execute that jump, and allowed me to adjust it and make a change before we got on the plane and notify Brandon jump. It actually made us safer. So when you're going on movement jumps, you should absolutely ask the leader all those questions. What is jump run? What are the winds aloft? Where are we going? Where are we flying? Why? Where are we opening? All those things. And they should be more than happy to explain those and answer those to you, answer those for you. And that's just increasing everyone's knowledge. That's making everybody safer. That's a good thing. All right, the next one, steer with shoulders and hips. I mentioned that a second ago, but that's definitely something you want to learn how to do. Like I said, a lot of new flyers, people who are new to tracking or angle flying, I see them trying to steer with their arms by putting their arms out really wide and kind of trying to, or grabbing the wind and trying to pull themselves a certain direction. And while that does work, it's very inefficient. You're increasing drag, you're giving yourself brakes, you're slowing down, you're gonna have a steeper glide ratio. It's doing all sorts of things that aren't beneficial and helpful to the movement that you're trying to create. So you really want to think about keeping your arms and hands down at your side, and as you steering with your shoulders initially, just a slight dip and turn of the shoulder and letting your body fly to where you want to go. Very small adjustments, small movements. And these are things that you can do, again, with a leader. You and one other person, a leader that you can trust, who's qualified, who knows what they're doing, and you just tell them, hey, can we fly together? You fly straight, I'm gonna follow you, be up next to you, and I'm just gonna try to just minor, very simple turns. And initially you're just playing with that. Just how do I turn and stay close to them, follow the leader, and maintain that speed? That's gonna force you to keep your speed, keep your pitch, and stay with the leader and still be able to turn a little bit with no pressure of following a group, no big sweeping turns or anything like that, but it's going to allow you to practice that. And you can also begin to practice with your hips too. What happens when you engage your hips and turn your hips as well? What about just your knees a little bit? Sometimes it's beneficial or helpful to steer with one knee. You drop a knee just a tiny bit and turn that direction, almost like a side slide, just not as drastic. So those are great things to practice and learn in a one-on-one or a two-way movement jump, tracking jump. All right, the next thing is learning how to follow on a movement jump, whether it's tracking or angle flying. How do you follow someone? And what I mean by that is where do you follow? What are the slots? Where is it okay for you to come in and fly with someone? If you're flying on the side of the leader, here's the leader and you're flying on the side, where should you be? How far forward, how far backward, up, down, all those things. What if you're flying above them, where should you be? What if you're flying below them, where should you be? So learning the slots, and I'm not gonna go into every single one of those in this video, but it's something that you need to be thinking through, learning and understanding, and talking with other people on your drop zone. So find someone who is qualified to lead and knows all about this stuff, and begin to talk with them about it. Say, hey, why, if I'm following the leader from above, why do I need to be out front just a little bit? What does that do? Why is that important? If I'm below, why do I need to be behind just a little bit? Talking through and beginning to understand all those things. And that also goes with approaching a group, a movement group. How and where do you approach a movement group? Is it okay to approach them directly from behind? Is that okay? Well, the answer is no, it's not. And so you need to understand, why is that not okay? Directly from behind, why is that not safe? Well, if everybody's flying really fast and you're approaching from directly behind and somebody corks out, losing control, guess where you're at? You're right there into them. So you need to learn those things. Approaching from above. What do I do if I'm trailing, I'm way above and I'm trailing them? How do I get to the group? What if I'm way below? What if I'm to the side? So not just where to fly, but how to approach and how to chase. What if you find yourself, you have a terrible exit, somebody hits you or you mess up or whatever, horrible exit, and you're chasing from way behind? What do you do? How do you chase in a way that's safe? And what are the right things to do when you find yourself in that situation? All right, the next thing is controlling your speed with your legs versus your arms. So you can use your arms for brakes and speed control. You can use your legs for brakes and speed control. How are those different? What are they going to do differently? How do you want to use your arms when you want to brake with your arms? Why? Why choose to brake with your arms sometimes and sometimes with your legs? Also, how do those control pitch? Not just speed, but pitch. As pitch is related to speed, but also can you increase your pitch and still maintain the same speed? Can you decrease your pitch and maintain the same speed? So all those things. And then the last one is engaging your muscles, engaging your body. And what that means is, think about right now. I'm sitting on a stool and I'm relaxed, but my body is also engaged. My muscles are holding me upright. I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable, I'm not stiff and rigid, but I'm also not so relaxed that I'm like a limp noodle and I just fall to the floor. So how do we do that? How do you do that in the air when you're flying? How do you maintain a relaxed feel, but also engaging the muscles in your body, engaging your legs, engaging your arms? And what does that mean? Think about kind of squeezing your muscles without being so stiff and rigid that you're like a statue, but also controlling your body, right? Relaxed, but still in control. For me, sometimes with my legs, one time I heard Inka told me, she said, think about squeezing your legs together, but not moving them. So if you've got your legs, shoulder width apart, and I squeeze my legs as if I was going to bring them together, but don't move them. That sense of kind of almost tightening and flexing your muscles a little bit, but just engaging that you have control over your body. That is going to help you, that's going to serve you very, very well in many disciplines, but specifically in angle flying and movement jumps and tracking, because it's going to increase the efficiency of your wing. If you're too relaxed and your legs are flopping around, your arms are flopping around, your body's too relaxed, you're causing undue turbulence. And turbulence is inefficiency. So you're going to be causing all kinds of burbles and wind currents and turmoil in your wake that's actually slowing you down, and it's making you fly less efficient. And that means you're losing lift, you're losing speed, you're also decreasing probably some of your control inputs that would be better served by a little bit of increased speed, which would give you more lift and allow you to stay with the group better. So those are all the things. D-arch, proficiency at flat tracking, both on your belly and your back, in-face carving, out-face carving, exiting the plane in a track, understanding jump run and the winds aloft, and paying attention to them on every movement jump. Every time that you're on a movement jump, you're paying attention to jump run and the winds aloft and why your flight plan is what it is. Learning how to steer with your shoulders and your hips. Learning to follow a leader. That means, where do you slot? Where do you fly? How do you approach the group? How do you chase the group? Learning to control your speed and your pitch, maybe even your speed with your legs versus your arms, or your arms versus your legs, when to use which and why and how are they different. And then finally, engaging your muscles and your body. I think if you can learn how to do all these things, it's going to serve you very well. You're going to, for one, you're going to be better at a lot of different skills, but it's going to help you as you get into angle flying. It's going to help you be more efficient, more proficient, more stable, more relaxed, and it's going to make it easier for you to join angle groups or movement groups and stay with the leader. Now, all that being said, the last thing that I want to say is, as you're getting into these movement jumps, whether it's flat tracking or angle flying, please, I would strongly encourage you, please try to find qualified instruction. Qualified instruction and leaders. People who are teaching you how to do these things and taking you on these jumps, they need to know what they're doing and what they're talking about. It's so easy for us to just think, oh, they've been jumping longer than me, they have more jumps than me, so they know what they're talking about. And that's not always the case. And I'm speaking somewhat from personal experience. When I first started angle flying about 5 years ago, I didn't realize how dangerous it can be. And some of the things that me and my friends were doing, we were just having fun. We were jumping out of the plane, angle flying, moving, and we didn't realize how some of the things we were doing were actually pretty dangerous and not the way that we should be doing things. Now, luckily, we made it through. We're okay, no major incidents. But I look back now, and I really wish I wish we had someone around us who knew a lot more. Now, luckily, we did have a couple of people who knew what they were doing and were leading us and helping us somewhat. But I just really want to encourage you, please try to find qualified instruction, people who know what they're talking about, that can safely lead you on these jumps. If you have questions about this stuff, if you have questions about any of these 10 things you want to understand better, put a comment down below, send me a message, connect with me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I want as many people as possible to know this stuff. I want to see the skydiving community get better and safer. I want us to all have fun and be safe and get out there and have a good time. The better we all are, the more fun we get to have together. And the safer we are, the longer we get to do this. So leave me a comment if this is helpful, if you have other questions, or maybe there's something that you think I left off the list, something that's really important that you think needs to be shared. I would love to hear that. I want us to share this information with people. So leave a comment, question, connect with me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I hope this is helpful. I'll try to put up more of this stuff as much as I can, and hopefully it's a blessing and a benefit to you, your skydiving, to your drop zone, your friends, and everyone around you. All right, blue skies, crave, do more, be better.